Well, welcome everyone. Thomas Montgomery Smart Money Alliance. It is Thursday morning, May 28th, 2020. We're starting an hour earlier than usual because of travel schedules. And as I was mentioning before we started the recording, wow, we're really excited with the enthusiasm and response that many of you have in terms of setting up workshops. And so we have a free certification training to get everyone up to speed on the different types of workshops and how they're set up. That's not the purpose today. Today, we want to go through the updated economic modeling tool that we use. And for all of you that are current branch managers, we should be going through this once a month and projecting out for the subsequent month. So as of today, May 28th, all of you should have scheduled, if you've not already, so we can plan out June. And we'll do that each month to continue to have accurate goals and projections for the month ahead. For any of you who are not yet branch managers, this is a useful discussion to understand how the cash flows through. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about this rather busy spreadsheet, and we'll do some what-if scenarios together. The first thing that I want to bring your attention to are the expenses. Most of these expenses are entirely within your control, so this is just a template or an example. Now, certainly, if you become a branch with us, it's $250 a week for the first 10 weeks, and we set up third-party financing, and so that's why it's reflecting $1,000. It's unrealistic in most cases to expect to start and operate a business without any expenses. And so as a branch office, this is one of the expenses. However, if we implement effectively, there's much more income coming in than expenses going out, so it's profitable. And that's a key concept for any business, right? Almost always going to be expenses. The key is we want to have more revenue than expenses, and that generates profitability. But with that being said, you pick what your salary is. It's up to you. $20,000 a month is a good adult salary. We don't recommend that anyone play the game of being self-employed. Instead, we recommend setting up a payroll service. We use QuickBooks Payroll, but you can use whatever you want and have weekly paychecks coming to you and your staff if you want to have any staff on a weekly basis. But you don't have to do that, just a recommendation. Rent. You can operate your branch office from your home and have no rent if you prefer to. However, for this template, we're going to project out $2,000 a month for office rent. You do not have to have an administrative assistant. That's purely optional for your branch, but if you did, we're projecting around $48,000 annual salary. For your branch, you do not have to have any staff at all. It could just be you. But if you wanted to have a business development representative who's out calling on churches and chambers and business bankers and so forth, then you're probably going to want to pay them, and you could pay them some sort of incentive-based, performance-based. For this, we're just simply projecting that you're paying them just a very reasonable $72,000 a year. But again, that's completely up to you. You do not need to have a company car. You do not have to have a company car that's wrapped with your branding. But here for the projection, we're going to budget $1,500 a month for a company car. We recommend that that be purchased under the EIN of your branch's name, so that way it's fully tax deductible. Then you don't even have to track mileage or any of those shenanigans. You do not have to offer benefits or a retirement plan to your employees or for yourself. But for this template, we're illustrating that. You do not have to travel nor have any entertainment expenses, but I think it's reasonable to budget about $30,000, $40,000 a year for that, and that's what's reflected here. And of course, there's always going to be other expenses. We can adjust this based upon what other expenses you may have. The one example we included here is you're going to need most likely errors and omissions insurance, and that's between $50 and $100 a month. So with all that being said, I just wanted to clarify these expenses are largely completely within your control. And if you want to run a real lean shop, you can eliminate almost all of these. I mean, you don't have to pay yourself $20,000 a month. You can pay yourself $6,000 a month. That increases the bottom line. I don't think that's representative of the value that you provide. So we'll continue to project at 20,000. But when we work with you to edit this on a monthly basis based upon your branch, we can make any changes that you want. The income falls into three main categories: teaching income, performance fee and enrollment income, and commissions from the key person policies. Some of you are not licensed as life insurance agents, so you can't write the key person policies. So of course, we could go in and negate this and take 37,000 out, or we can help you get licensed, or you can work collaboratively with one or more licensed agents in your community. This is an accurate reflection, and we'll go through the details in a moment, of the type of income that should be generated on a monthly basis based on these assumptions, and how you tap into that will vary. But again, when we're working on your monthly goal setting, we can address that. But based upon the assumptions to the left, which we're going to go through, a typical month should be around $60,000 to $70,000 of gross income for your branch. Depending upon what expense structure you want, you're managing the P&L, then we should end up with a nice net profit, which goes back to you. For our branches, you don't share any of that net profit with us. We're not a franchise. You don't pay a royalty fee. All right, so that explains kind of the income statement perspective. Let's go over to the gray box, and then we'll hop up into the details. So there are a number of, technically 6, typical revenue streams for a branch office. We're not attempting to explain all of those in detail here. You'll find that information by going through the certification training and going to the website. But let's just make sure we're on the same page. So we can go out and we can teach financial literacy workshops, those 1-hour workshops. Normally, the attendees would pay $20 per person per 1-hour block. You would make half of that, and then the other half would go to the host. Some of you are doing those for free. I've done a bunch of those for free to really generate a funnel. So in this projection, we are not anticipating that you're charging for those 1-hour workshops. If you are, that's great. That's going to be additional income that's not even reflected here. But if depending upon the host, some hosts, like a lot of chambers, they're going to require that you charge. They don't want to be involved with some sort of educational curriculum where it's free. People may show up, they may not. They have no skin in the game. And of course, often the chamber wants to generate revenue. Conversely, we've done a ton of these at libraries, right? Well, if you go to a library, you can't charge for it. So depending upon what you're wanting to accomplish, we'll work with you and determine the right place for these 1-hour workshops. Secondly, we have the 1-day SBA Express workshops. We affectionately call that the William model. We'll be doing William's first SBA Express workshop in Chicago this weekend. We have 10 people registered and paid for that. And from that, William collected $20,000. He keeps half, $1,000 a person that's already in his pocket. And then the other half comes back to us for facilitating it. The third revenue stream is our 1-day Access to Capital workshop. Has a lot of similarities to number 2. Number 2 is specifically getting the audience ready for the next day to apply for an SBA Express 7A loan, whereby number 3 is a little broader. We don't know that they're going to go after an SBA Express loan, so instead we're doing the general preparation. A lot of overlap. We're still doing the business plan, knocking it out in that 1 day. We're still putting financial projections together in that 1 day. We're still developing personal financial statements while we're all together in that 1 day. We're still getting their key person policies set up in that 1 day. But the structure of the business plan, quite frankly, varies because we're experts on the SBA Express program, and that then we can focus on just the specific elements that the lender cares about, whereby in number 3, we don't know exactly the type of capital that we're going to be pursuing, so we have to do a broader business plan, which is fine. Both of these are in person, one day, and you're making 50% of the income of both of those, but we'll get up to the numbers in just a moment. Then separate from teaching, we can just simply enroll clients in the SBA Express program. Many of you have been doing that. You can enroll clients directly into the 4-week Access to Capital program. And there's hyperlinks for most of these that takes you back over to our website for more information. The purpose today is not to give you an in-depth review of each of these revenue streams. That is covered, has been covered, and is available through the certification training, which is free. And then the 6th is setting up a key person policy. Now, depending upon your background, you may look at number 6 and say, wow, this is incredibly ingenious because we're taking the sales out of insurance sales. If you want a business loan, almost always you need a collateral assignment. Collateral assignments are normally assembled with a key person or similar type of policy, and it's ingenious. Some of the most financially successful insurance professionals that I've ever talked to, typically those that are in MDRT, the $1 Million Roundtable, have a niche. And many of those, they will work with business bankers to get referrals to set up key person policies so those individuals can qualify for a business loan. What we're doing together is even better than that. We're literally creating a demand for the key person policies by solving one of the largest, most prevalent problems in the entrepreneurial space, which is access to capital. Now, this isn't some gamesmanship just to sell policies. It's part of the underwriting criteria. If you're opposed to it, no worries. We've got other people that will write those policies. But it's part of the underwriting criteria. So we're going to build it into the income projections that we're going through. A couple notes. When we set up workshops, regardless of which of these environments, you do not and we do not rent space. Now, if you want to, you can, but that's not the model. So for the general rule, you nor us are going to go spend money to rent a space, what we call the venue. Secondly, you nor us are going to spend any money on trying to market that workshop to put butts in the seats. That's what the hosts do. Hosts are churches, chambers, co-working spaces, business organizations, business associations, and we can revenue share with them if you'd like. But the bottom line is the host is a crucial element. Otherwise, it's a lot of work. So with that being said, the second note is there's 3 of us currently that are field trainers. We have a couple more that are in training that we'll be able to expand our bandwidth. But frankly, once you've done 1 or 2 or 3 of these, you probably won't need a field trainer anymore. The point I'm trying to make right now is we will send a field trainer. Like I'm going to go do the event in Chicago with William this weekend. And that is part of what we do in helping you be successful. It's part of the field training. It used to be all of our branch managers came to our office on a Friday, spent the day with us, and we trained kind of in a conference room. Now it's even better. We come to you and train you in the field. All right. Leadership income is a big deal. It's not really the subject of today nor of this model, but we're looking for strong leaders. And strong leaders, we call them regional directors. They help us develop branch offices. They make $5,000 for each branch office they help develop, and then they get set up on overrides from the branch's production. Big deal, but may not be relevant to you, and it's not the point of what we're talking about. Lastly, what's excluded from this model, and then we'll finally get up and dig into the model. What's excluded? What you know and I know is, especially if you're a financial advisor in the financial services space, the key is to develop the client relationship. Then you have the familiarity, the trust, the awareness, and you're able to help them often in many other ways. And of course, also get referrals from them because they know other small business owners. We're not even attempting to project what the total value of each new client is in this model. We're just talking about upfront what you're getting paid in the first 30 days in almost all cases. So keep in mind that you could double or triple or tenfold whatever your average client is worth the value of this model, because you're going to help people in other ways. The example I like to give is Brian. Brian is a licensed agent. We did an implementation together in Tyler, Texas. He from that generated an annuity, which wasn't a direct output of this programming, but it was indirect. And so he made $55,000 off that one annuity, doing a 401k rollover for a husband and wife. So, I mean, that's a heck of a deal, but we're not trying to capture that. But you should be aware, of course, the value of clients extend much beyond just the upfront income we're projecting here. And this does not reflect the leadership income that I just made reference to. Highlighted yellow fields can be edited. And so we're going to schedule one-on-ones with you, and that's going to allow us to be able to create monthly goals. All right, so now we're into the meat of the matter, and it's these variables that drive these numbers, right? So when we change these numbers, and we'll practice doing so, it's going to change our income. You control the expenses. As you probably learned in accounting, there's a difference between fixed and variable expenses. We're just projecting everything out as fixed, which means it's under your control. So you can get rid of it or you can have it. But for instance, typically you don't pay less for rent if you're a little bit busy this month versus a lot busy. That would be an example of a variable expense. So these you can just go in and change one time based upon what you're doing. These numbers are going to alter monthly based upon our projected activity. All right, so let's dig in. So our SBA Express enrollment, that's where we're helping small businesses specifically get prepared for an SBA 7A Express loan. They pay $1,999, $2,000 for that loan package. And then they also pay 1.99% performance fee of the capital raised. Well, we split those 50-50 with you. So we're just explaining that, and we needed that in a cell so we can do calculations. Also, now up to you what type of key person policy you're selling, if you're doing term or permanent. Of course, the face value and the risk and age of the individual is going to vary it, but we're just projecting off of very conservative $500 commission per key person policy. We'll talk about how many of those we sell with details forthcoming, but just so we're all clear, some of you average much higher than that, and that's only going to drive your numbers up. So for example, let's say, no, I think on average, I'll be selling $1,000. I'll be earning $1,000 commission with all these other assumptions the same. That just drove this up to almost $50,000 a month, our gross income to $78,000, and it increased our net income by a fair amount. But we're going to project conservatively. All right. So with that being said, let's look at the first workshop scenario. And these are the SBA Express workshops, the William model like we're doing in Chicago this weekend. We can work together to do 0 of these. We can make that 0. You say, I don't want to do any of those. Well, if you do 0 of those and we don't adjust any other variables, what happened? Now we're bleeding a little bit. So we're going to have to either reduce expenses, your salary, eliminate a staff person, eliminate expenses. We're just barely under profitability. But what we would like you to do is to plan to have at least one of these a month. And William already has his next one tentatively set up, and we're just having his first one this weekend. It's from the same host. What you'll really like about this is in many cases, as long as we have a positive experience with the first workshop with the host, they'll have us back on a reoccurring basis. Reoccurring basis may be once a year, once every 6 months, once a quarter. The best ones have us back monthly. Of course, it depends upon how well we all do there, how much they like it, but also it'll depend equally on their sphere of influence. How many people do they have, and how frequently do they think that there's a demand for it? All right, so with that being said, still on the SBA Express Workshop, the William model, we're going to assume one a month. These typically are a little bit smaller, and they can be smaller because the revenue is bigger. They're enrolling in the SBA Express program. They're paying the $1,999. You're making half of that. And again, of course, you'll write the policy, and we'll also share the performance fee with you. But with these assumptions here, we're going to assume we're going to do one of these a month, or for the month, the upcoming month, average of attendance of 10. And then we have to make an assumption of how many of the attendees will buy a key person policy. Well, this is going to be a very high expected conversion for the following reasons. Number one, it is necessary for most types of business loans. Number two, the people that attend your SBA Express workshops are usually some of your most capable entrepreneurs. They're focused. They have at least $2,000, right, to do this. You might say, well, $2,000 seems like a lot. That is a bargain for a loan package. Loan packages normally are $5,000 to $10,000, and they normally take 30 to 90 days to put together. We're cutting that down to less than $2,000, and we're getting it done in a day in this workshop scenario. So don't worry about the value proposition. It's a great value. It's probably priced too low. But the point is, this is a group of people that are really committed and capable, and you're going to be there, or we'll have someone there to be able to get the key person policy set up, and we should average 90%. So those are the key assumptions we're going to make for this given month that's driving into these income projections. Again, we can always change it. Maybe we end up having 2 of these a month. Well, that has a profound impact on our income and profitability. And of course, it's easy to say, well, I'll do 1 million of them a month, right? Well, that's not realistic. We're going to have to develop the host relationships, and it's the hosts that give us the opportunity to do these workshops. So where the rubber hits the road is you, A, coming aboard as a branch manager, B, getting trained, and C, working together to develop hosts. All right, so that is variable number 1. The financial literacy 1-hour workshops, which again, we have a list of all of those on the Smart Money Alliance website. You're able to go review those. And frankly, we have a set of literacy topics for individuals, for personal financial literacy, and another set for businesses. Depending upon your offerings and your preferences, you may only want to teach the business curriculum. We've had a lot of fun, and that's one of the things we did with Brian that I mentioned earlier, is we went into a small business and actually started teaching financial literacy workshops for the employees, and then turned around. We didn't set up key person policies for the employees, but we set up what's called a smart money plan, which is a hybrid of education and an IUL. But regardless, we can make a projection of how many of these 1-hour workshops that you want to do. Here, we're going to keep it simple and assuming that you're doing it for free for the exposure, but we certainly could build in revenue and the number of attendees. And so you're going to make normally about $200 for each 1-hour workshop. If you're charging $20 charged to the participant, $400 brought in, half of that normally goes to the host, the other half is retained by you. So we would just add $200 to this projection, but that's a pretty small amount in the big picture of your monthly budget. Now, the key coming out of the 1-hour workshop is to set up a financial needs analysis, whether it be an individual for the personal workshop or a business. That's the key outcome. And typically there's not a charge for that. And out of that, on average, you should sell half of them a policy, because most people don't have the asset protection they need, and they're usually not saving and growing their money in an effective way. So we're assuming that 50% of the 50% will buy some sort of policy from you, which would be 5 new policies from one workshop. We don't do these individual 1-hour workshops until we've mastered the full-day workshops, just so you know. Otherwise, it's too much too soon. All right, so then the third projection that we need to incorporate here are the SBA Express enrollments. This is where individuals are enrolling in the SBA Express program. They're doing it online. They're not gathering together. You're still making the same 50% of the $2,000. You're still making 1% of the performance fee. And now here we're going to project, we're just going to enroll 4. Could be more, could be less. Again, these could be from key influencers in your community, bankers and others that don't want to have a workshop, that don't want to be a host, or just at-large marketing. And we're going to assume a lower percentage are going to follow through and get a key person policy than those that have attended and spent the day working with us. We're going to always have the greatest results when we spend a day with someone versus online. But online is preferable or needed by some people. So those are the assumptions there. And again, of course, we can change those assumptions. We can say, no, I'm better than that. I sell 8, and you see the income goes up. But for our baseline, we're going to project 4. All right, access to capital workshops. This is really our flagship, and we could argue maybe it should be in the top left-hand corner of this page or what have you. But the bottom line is these are the, what we call the 4-week access to, I'm sorry, the access to capital workshop. We spend 1 day together and we put together the business plan, financial projections, personal financial statement, get the key person policy set up. These are the $4.99 workshops, of which you make half, $250 a piece. Here we're assuming we're just doing 1 of these. This probably should be the one that we're doing once a week. We should be able to do 4 of these a month, even if we're only doing 1 of the big kahunas a month. So we'll project this off of 4. We have average attendee of 20. And again, we're going to have a high conversion percentage because it's needed. They're there to get their loan package put together, and having a properly designed collateral assignment is required by most lenders. And so by changing that to 4, of course, that increased our teaching income nicely. It drove up more key person policy, and it gets us really where we want to be. We want each branch to be at least a $1 million gross revenue per month business entity. And this would be a key driver. But we can be conservative and we can drop it down to 2 if we want. Whatever, we'll work with you each month, set goals, set activities, and adjust these. Now, lastly, we have the 4-week access to capital program. This is the $99 times 4. They can pay it all up front, $396. It's grant subsidized. We should be enrolling a bunch of people into this, because if they don't have at least $99, they're not very well positioned to start a business. And if they don't have $99, they're never going to be able to afford a key person policy from you anyway. This again is online, so it doesn't have to require physical involvement. So both this is online and this is online. So if you're not of the preference to teach workshops, or you're in a geographic area that you can't teach workshops, or you're not physically able to do workshops, that's fine. Then we just need to emphasize the revenue streams that are online based versus in-person based. But here with the 4-week access to capital, it's what we call the $99 program. We should enroll plenty of folks into this, and we're going to have a lower projection of conversion into the key person policy for a couple of reasons. These folks are probably going to be less committed. They're doing online. They've not committed to a full-day workshop. Not all of them will complete the process, and you've not spent the day with them, so chances are you don't have as strong of a relationship with them. So that's why we're assuming a lower conversion rate. You may be really good, and maybe your conversion rate would be much higher. This is just what we're projecting. The financial assumptions that are carried throughout is for those that go through the SBA Express program, whether it be online or through the workshops, we actually help them access capital afterwards. And we charge a performance fee of the 1.99. It's 50-50 split with you. And we project a $100,000 capital raise from each of those. And so this is an important sell because the rest of this calculates. And then here again, we're looking at what you think your average commission will be off the key person policy. If you're selling term, it's probably going to be lower on average. It depends upon your clientele. If you're selling IULs or permanent coverage, remember when we set up the key person policies, though, they need to pay the annual premium up front. We don't want to do monthly billing for the key person policies. Lenders don't like that, because then if the person doesn't make the next month key person policy payment, then the collateral assignment blows up, and then it's a mess. It could even cause the note, the loan, to come due. So you're going to see essentially no chargebacks off of key person policy sales under this model, because we need to sell the policies with an annual premium. And you might say, well, what if they don't have the money for an annual premium? Well, we need to work with them on their business plan and financial projections, right? Because if they don't have at least $500 to have asset protection that's required for most loans, they may not be ready for a loan yet. Maybe they need to come in and work with you in your branch and generate some extra income. Maybe you could hire them for a month to be your business development representative. They make $6,000 for the month, and now they have the cash flow. That's one of the beautiful things about this. You're going to run into small business owners that are just stone cold broke. Great people, great ideas in many cases, but just stone cold broke. Well, great. Bring them on. You could add extra cells. You could have other reps that are full-time or part-time with you. You pay them based upon performance if you want, and get them some earned income. Frankly, that's what a lot of people need. I was talking to an entrepreneur yesterday. She was very agitated, very agitated. She's in part of the country where her business is shut down, not because of her wrongdoings, not because of anything to do with us, but because of the economic conditions. She has no income coming in, not personally, not through her business, no income coming in. And here she is kind of whimpering about, I need a loan. Well, you're probably not going to get a loan, right? You have no ability to repay the loan. You're just looking for a life preserver, which I'm not belittling her situation. But if people are stone cold broke, what they often need more than a loan is an opportunity for earned income. And frankly, they could become a branch manager. That's not the point I'm trying to get to. But if you're interfacing with them, maybe you offer them an opportunity to come in and help set up some hosts, or help teach some workshops, or serve some role within your branch, and you help them with earned income. That's what some people need. Okay, so with that, we've covered the structure of the Smart Money Alliance branch economic modeling. The key is we need to visit with you once a month for goal setting. Okay, what is it we want to do in the upcoming month? And of course, how does that project forward for income? I'm going to go ahead and take your questions now as we prepare to wrap up. But this is available now on our website. And let me stop the share and I'll show you where it is, and then we'll get to your questions. So give me a second here and I'll navigate over and I'll show you where it sits. And we'll knock out a few questions and we'll wrap it up. Okay, so smartmoneyalliance.org website, we all know about that. Under the career opportunities, the free certification training people can go through with no cost, no obligation. Then we get down to the heading of the branch office manager. We have the onboarding packet for new branch offices to see. We also email it out to them, and also Jennifer, our education coordinator, will reach out to them to walk them through it. That's not the point right now. The point is we added the branch manager economic modeling sheet to this page on the career opportunities. Now it's the static one, it's the PDF, as you can see, because we want to work with you with goal setting to make the changes based upon the amount of income that you want to generate and the activities that you want to do. So the editable version we'll work on together, but there is a fixed version right here. And then of course at the bottom, the regional director role is listed. Okay, so let's get to your questions before we wrap it up. Tony asked on the 4-week access to capital program, how was the revenue share on it? You'll notice, Tony, that there was no revenue share shown on that spreadsheet. That's because we've priced this at cost. It's $99 times 4 for the small business owner. So this in itself does not generate direct revenue for you. So you may not want to offer it. Or you might say, heck yeah, I'm going to bring this to everyone's attention I can because it's so affordable, no one could push back. Pretty much anyone could afford it. And subsequently, they're going to get a valuable outcome. They're going to get, their loan package and the capital match. But most importantly to you, Tony, what you're getting is an opportunity to sit down with these individuals, put together their personal financial statement, which is part of the training that we provide for free. And you're also going to be setting up their key person policy and developing a relationship. So this offering is not a direct revenue stream to you. It certainly generates a powerful indirect. For direct revenue streams, certainly we can go teach the financial literacy workshops, personal or business. We can offer the SBA Express program, either standalone or in a group setting, the William model. We can work together to set up access to capital workshops. You can help us bring on other branches and make $5,000 a piece. Lots of ways to generate income. But in summary, the 4-week access to capital program is just simply priced at cost. We would have to mark it up to pay out to the field. And the goal here was to keep it as low as possible so we can help as many small businesses as possible. What you're going to find, Tony, is that your key influencers in your community are going to love this. This is an incredible value proposition. And everything we do, I think, is very affordable and very reasonable. But this is an incredible value proposition. And so as you're having that first conversation with a local business banker in your community, saying, hey, my name's Tony. I work with a 501c3 nonprofit. We've received grant funding to help small businesses access capital. Specifically, what we do, and we're very good at, is we help them get prepared. Our program was developed by current and former SBA advisors, SBDC advisors, SCORE mentors, and even some business bankers. What we do is help put together their loan package, including their business plan and financial projections and a bulleted list of about 15 other items, so they know what the right type of capital is for their circumstance. They meet the underwriting criteria. And of course, when bankers refer to you, Tony, you can refer them back for funding. So when you lead with this program in the community, I think you're going to have, I know you're going to have tremendous response. All right, so we got just a couple more minutes for any other questions that anyone has about the economic modeling spreadsheet, which again is parked over here on the career page of Smart Money Alliance, and it's right here, as you can see. Does anyone else have any questions for us today as it relates to the economic modeling? Oh, Loopy's asking about the total license fee. Yeah, so, and that's, well, I was going to say it's not changed, but that's not true. The branch manager license is a 10-year license. It used to be priced at $10,000 a year, $100,000. They came back and they reduced that in half to $50,000, still for a 10-year license. Plus, they threw in $25,000 of working capital that comes back to you, Loopy, or any branch manager. So now the net cost is technically $25,000 for a 10-year branch license. And I'll navigate back over to the spreadsheet so we have that in front of us. So with that being said, yeah, is there a cost to be a branch manager? There certainly is. But I don't think that when you look at the cost, which is the equivalent of what? $200 a month if you amortize that over, but we're showing $1,000 a month just because of the $250 payments initially. So yes, there's a fee to become a branch office manager. We essentially internally finance it for the first 10 weeks, and then we can help you set up third-party financing after that 10th week. But I mean, you could certainly do a what-if scenario and take this out, but you probably would zero out all these others. So we can even practice doing that. So let's say that we don't want to be a branch manager. So we get rid of that cost, but now we get rid of all revenue because we don't have the revenue that could have happened from that. Well, so we saved that $1,000 a month. That was successful. What did that do to our income? Well, we're now to zero. And now we don't have the money for our salary or our rent or anything else. So obviously there is an expense and investment for us to be able to train and support you. Thank you, Lupe. Monique asked about in terms of getting the company car. Yeah, so certainly we're going to help the branch first with $25,000 of working capital, and then if you need additional capital beyond that, we can help you with that. But again, if we go back and plug in what we would recommend projections, I mean, we should be cash flowing pretty nicely here, and so our need to borrow a lot of capital should be really minimal, right? Because other than just a little bit of ramp up time, we should not need to borrow money. This should be a cash flow machine. That's what it's designed to do while we're helping others. Remember, this all is validated, right? This model, in essence, has been around for decades, right? We looked at what the SBDCs, the Small Business Development Centers, were doing. I worked for one up until July 5th of last year, 2019. And we said, what if we took what they do as a governmental entity and privatized it? And that's essentially what we're doing. So this is not pie in the sky. We didn't add the branch license fee back in. Let's see here. So hopefully we answer the question. And Monique, I'm sorry to get back to your point. Yeah, so if you get a company car, it is your company car. If you pay yourself a salary, it's paid from your branch office. You're managing the P&L. So the money comes in this case, projecting $135,000 a month based on the assumptions we have. You manage the expenses. You keep 100% of the profits. And so again, we're not trying to portray this as a get-rich-quick scheme, not at all. But what I can tell you is following the model from the SBDCs at our small SBDC office in East Texas, which isn't densely populated, we were pulling in $20 to $30 million a year at that one government office. And so if we're doing that, I know with your skill set and your motivation, these assumptions are not far-fetched. But regardless, we'll work with you. We'll adjust the assumptions each month. We'll create a plan. We'll provide the field training. We'll come out. If you're not life licensed and you want to become, we can help you do that or get you plugged into an agent that can write the key person policies. Even if you have to split this 50-50, that's still more money than most people generate. Yes, this is being recorded and will be shared, Markeisha. Thank you. Are there any other questions that anyone has regarding the economic model of being a Smart Money Alliance branch manager? Any other questions that we can help with today? All right. Well, I appreciate you all taking time earlier in your day than we normally meet. We wish you the best. The key is let's get you plugged in as a branch manager. Let's get you certified. Jennifer is going to help walk you through that. And then let's start scheduling our monthly goal setting calls. Let's get that first workshop scheduled, just like William did. And let's get together and spend a day together and implement and do the field training. And again, that's at no cost to you. Thank you so much. And we look forward to implementing. Have a great day. Bye-bye.